The global revenue in the gambling market is projected to reach around $655.3 billion in 2026. That is an absolute crazy number. Now, why are the gambling companies making so much money? Well, it's because all of the players are losing, obviously. I'm going to talk about today the biggest misconceptions about sports betting, and I'm going to try to not get this video completely taken down because the betting companies are not going to be happy with this at all. So let's go through the biggest misconceptions that you probably have, that the majority of people have, that I talk to each day. And the first thing is that most people don't know profitable sports betting even exists. And this is the foundational blind spot. You know, ask the average person if you can make money betting on sports, and they'll look at you like you asked if you can get rich by playing slot machines. This actually happened to me. When I started betting myself when I was 18 years old, I was talking to my parents about what I was doing, and all I got was like weird comments, and they did not understand how I was doing it. And I promise you, I'm not some guru here to try to sell you a course, a mentorship, some private capital allocation, trading bot, or anything like that. I'm here to teach you and educate you. And you know, they're not entirely wrong to be skeptical. The cultural narrative around gambling is very binary. You know, you're either a degenerate losing your rent money, maybe your generational wealth, or you're just a lucky bastard who hit a parlay once. The idea of sports betting as, you know, a skill-based, repeatable edge simply doesn't exist in most people's mental models. And just like, you know, with trading, people actually think you can make money trading, but gambling, not the same thing. And you know, this is by design. Sportsbooks benefit enormously from the perception that betting is entertainment and not a type of investment. And the moment it becomes, you know, investing, people start asking uncomfortable questions about expected returns, ROI, the risk. And those questions lead to answers that books don't want widely understood by the public, obviously, because then they would lose all of the revenue. So me doing this video is probably going to put a target on my back. But the irony is that professional sports bettors, you know, they exist, and they have for decades. I'm going to explain why they're not talked about as much. But generally, they're just quiet about it. You know, unlike poker pros or stock traders, think of the movie Wolf of Wall Street, or big poker tournaments, or for example, in the movie The Hangover, they go to the casino and you see them playing blackjack and some poker, you know, and winning a ton of money. There's no actual cultural archetype for the professional bettor. There's no movies, no celebrity figures, and the closest we get is, you know, the scammer guru on IG and TikTok selling fixed match picks in his Telegram or Discord group. So, but this ignorance isn't neutral. It's the first filter that keeps, you know, 97% of people or bettors on the wrong side of the math, which is why, you know, 97 to 99% of people lose long term. The second biggest misconception is that people think winning means predicting the outcomes. It doesn't. In sports betting, you can obviously, you know, bet on a team to win, a player to win, or something to happen, and if that happens, you get paid out. But that is not how sports bettors who do it professionally, like me, actually make their money. Here is where it gets quite counterintuitive. So, you know, you can be right about who wins long term and still lose money, and you can also be wrong about who wins and still be profitable long term. How? Because sports betting is not a prediction contest. It's a market. Think about polymarket. You know, you're playing on polymarket against other players. On the sportsbook, you're playing against the casino, and their job is to find the right odds for their events and have a profit margin, and your job is essentially to find the events that they have mispriced. So when you place a bet, you're not answering will this team win, you're answering are the odds mispriced at, for example, 1.8, the decimal odds. And those are completely different questions. The first is about, you know, forecasting or predicting the outcome, and the second is about value. Is there value in this bet? And this distinction, you know, is everything. People tell me like, I want to, you know, throw in a big parlay and cash out 150 times my money. Can you please show me how to do it? And I just instantly block that person, because That's not how you make money, sports betting. You know, the distinction is everything, because it's the difference between, you know, a stock picker who buys companies he believes in versus a quant trader who is the market maker of a market, or a guy who buys, you know, very undervalued stocks. Maybe he does 10 investments, 3 of them go to shit, 5 don't happen anything with, but those 2 actually give great returns. One is playing, you know, a feelings game, betting on your gut feeling, and the other one is playing just a statistical game of math. And the sharps, that is the name for the people who have a system when betting, understand this intuitively. They don't care about being right, they care about being plus EV. So EV is expected value. A bet with a 40% win probability can be enormously profitable if the odds imply 30%. Now, I know that this math here is going to make you a little bit confused if you know nothing about it. And I'm going to show you an example just so it gets a little bit more clear. So if you go to oddshunter.com/tools, you'll be able to get a few different calculators that I've made. And if you go to the odds converter, we're just going to take a look at this for the simplest example possible. Let's say you have a game where it's a 50-50 chance that a team will win. So a 50-50 chance, 50%. You want the odds to be, the implied probability of the odds that you get on that game to be less than 50%. So let's say that you place a bet randomly on each side of this time. You're going to win 50% of the time. But what if the implied odds is 10%? So what if each time you played, the odds of that event would be 10? So each time you place your money on one side and win, you get 10 times your money, and each time you lose, you just lose your stake. So let's say I have, you know, I placed $100 on a coin flip, so tails or heads, and the coin flips, and I place it on heads and lands on heads. I will get $1,000 back. And this is a very extreme example, but these are the kind of opportunities we're looking for as a sharp or EV bettor. So this is why, you know, services selling locks or guaranteed winners are almost universally worthless. You know, they're optimizing for the wrong variable, which is trying to pick the winner. Picks don't matter. The prices at which you get the picks do. And number 3, people wildly misjudge what profitable actually means. You know, there's 2 equal and opposite delusions that exist here. The first one is, you can't make real money betting. It's just beer money, or, you know, gambling $10 each week for a while, and, you know, not winning any much at all. And the delusion B is that people are making a ton of money betting. So sharps are making millions of dollars flipping parlays from their phone, which is also a really big misconception. So people go from completely unaware that you can make money on betting, to thinking that it is like the dream life and everything like this. You see people on Instagram, you know, living the high life. Well, they're just selling their picks. Both are wrong, but in very instructive ways. So the truth is that professional sports betting looks more like bond trading than poker. Returns are modest in, you know, percentage terms. So 2 to 5% per bet ROI on volume is considered really elite. But the volume is the multiplier. So, you know, a 3% edge on $10 million in annual turnover is $300,000. So if you can place down on sportsbooks $10 million over a single year, you will be able to make a return on all of that capital. And that same edge on $1,000 is $30. So a realistic example for how much you can make is, let's say you have $1,000 and you use oddshunter.com as a software to pick out the picks that are, or the events that are mispriced odds. I'm going to try to give you an example here. So if you go to the oddshunter.com website, you can click your bankroll and start with 1K. You can do, let's say, 10 bets a day, and each bet is you're staking 1% of your bankroll. so let's say 10 euros, you're going to be able to, with 10 bets at 10 euros each, you're going to be able to bet 100 euros a day. And with a average edge of 8%, you're going to be able to make a monthly ROI of 24%. So if, let's say you have like 5,000 euros, you're going to be able to pay for the software itself in like 3 days. And that's just a example of one of the scenarios that you can do. So what's important in betting is getting down as much money as possible and turning over your capital as quickly as possible. That's why you don't want to, bet on something too far off in the future, because if your bet gets voided before then, or if something weird happens with a player or something like that, well, it's not ideal. The most the most profitable type of betting is live betting. But anyways, I'm going to stick to the topic of this video. So this is why, bankroll and access to sportsbook matter so much. The edge exists always. There's always edge. I wish I could be unbanned on all the casinos I'm banned on right now, because I would be able to make so much more money by doing that than, doing everything else that I'm doing. And, the edge exists, but scaling is the hard part. Sportsbook limit winners, they restrict bet sizes, they close accounts, and the infrastructure required to move serious volume without getting banned itself is like a competitive moat in betting. So if you have access to 10 different friends with betting accounts and you have $100,000 collectively, you're going to be able together, with each person having 10 to 20 accounts each, you're going to be able to make a killing. But the limit to the amount of money you can earn is not the amount of money you have, it's usually the places where you can put down your bets, because there's always opportunity, and you can easily find it with software like oddshunter.com. There's a ton of other softwares as well. Some are much more expensive, but this is a good way to start. So for most people, the realistic ceiling is, supplemental income, not retirement. But supplemental income is still real money, and more importantly, it's positive expected value in a world where most gamblers are lighting cash on fire. Imagine, turning up with your friends on a Friday night and they want to place a couple of parlays to watch, to accompany the game they're going to watch. You open a dashboard and you start placing a couple of bets which are positive EV. They're going to ask you like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And then you can just show them your results for the last like 3 months and say, yeah, I made like 3K these 3 months, like $1,000 a month, easy. They're going to be completely shocked because they probably lost like 3K for the last 6 months. So like betting is not life-changing money. It's not going to make you like 100K a month, but it can definitely make you 5K a month, 10K a month if you have the right access to the right people, the books, and so on. And as you get better, you're going to be able to find more innovative places to place down the bets. Currently on OddsHunter, we have a few bookmakers available, like Polymarket, Bet365, Unibet, but I'm working on adding, Stake, Roulette, and a lot of casino books that don't limit you as well. So the framing matters here. So if you expect, to quit your job within a very small time frame, you'll be disappointed. If you expect to stop losing money and start capturing small edges consistently, you'll be very pleasantly surprised by how easy it is. And if you're young like me, making an extra 3K a month from maybe starting out with 5K or 2K and growing that over a couple of months is actually insane progress to see. Now let's go on to number 4. So people think sharps are hitting parlays. So people think that bettors like me are just hitting parlays, but we usually avoid parlays entirely. The parlays account for around 60 to 70% of sportsbook revenue, and that's for a reason. It's because it's the closest thing those organizations have to being a lottery. So parlays are the sportsbook's best friend. So they're engineered to exploit 2 cognitive biases simultaneously. The desire for large payouts and the inability to calculate compounding probabilities. So the desire for large payouts is obviously tied to, the lottery mechanic in your head, which makes you want to play slots, run parlays, buy lottery tickets. and also the inability to calculate compounding probabilities. So here's the math most bettors never run. So, you know, a 3-leg parlay at minus -10 odds, minus -10 if you go to oddshunter.tools. For everyone, let's just see what that is. So if we do minus 110, that is the same as 1.91 decimal or 909 1000. That is, each has an implied break-even win rate of about 36.4%, but the actual probability of hitting all three, even with a solid 55% win rate pick, is only around 16%. So the gap between the perceived value and the actual value is where the books print money. So let's say each sports pick, or like most of the sports picks on a sportsbook, are going to make you lose money long term. If you combine those in the same bet, you're basically not compounding your value, your probability to win, you're compounding their probability to win over you. Or you're compounding your probability to lose, essentially. And, you know, sharps know this, I know this, and I almost never bet parlays. But when I do, it's a correlated parlay where, you know, the outcomes are linked in ways that books haven't properly priced. And those opportunities are pretty rare. But let's say I have two different bets that are positive expected value, which means that I will make money on them long term. Let's say, what if I would combine those two? Well, if I have 10% value in one, so 10% ROI on average, and a 10% ROI on average here, combining those two will give me a 1.21%, it's 21% edge. 1.21 decimal, of course, but like a 21% edge over the sportsbook. So you can also compound your chances and probabilities to win. But using that tactic will also make your bankroll or your trajectory to making more and more money a little bit more varied. So meanwhile, you know, recreational bettors post parlay tickets on social media, like lottery tickets. The structure is very identical, you know, a very small outlay. So usually it's like $10 or $50 with a massive potential payouts, terrible expected value, and the dopamine hit of imagining the win is worth more to most people than the mathematical certainty of long-term loss. And you can just go on Twitter or Instagram or any of these platforms to see that people are, you know, dropping $50 here, $20 here, $100 here with like 150x, 250x parlays that will never hit in a million years. And then they miss the parlay by 2 bets or 1 leg. And then they're just like, oh my god, I was so close to winning. Yeah, well, that's the point. And this is a trap. Parlays feel like a strategy. They feel like you're being clever by combining information. And in reality, you're just giving the house a bigger edge on every leg, multiplied together. So, you know, the gurus posting parlay wins aren't showing you their losses. Selection bias makes parlays look viable. Because scammers, like I showed you in my last video, scammers like Brookie J07, like this person right here, post parlays only when they hit. So $50 to 50k, who do y'all know keep hitting for thousands like this? But this person right here, if you didn't know, they went 1 for 108. So they lost 108 parlays and won 1. Absolutely crazy. Selection bias makes parlays look viable, but the spreadsheet tells a different story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to get better at betting, if you want to learn more, I am going to be releasing some more educational content on this channel, but also on oddshunter.com/education. I'm working on putting together a few resources for everybody to, you know, get started. And I have a software called oddshunter.com. Obviously, it's in early access. A few people are already printing with it, but I might let in a few more people. So you can go to the site, and if you know, you can start a trial. If it works, it's because I let in more people. If it doesn't, you can just DM me on Twitter. I'll give you like an access code. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. Everything of that is linked down below. And yeah, don't get scammed.